I think the audience wants Star Trek to be an action movie, and this certainly has that in spades.
I'm always interested when I see a script for the films that they bring something new to the table.
I would say my biggest contribution to the story was the action area. Believe it or not.
We have everything from jeep work out in the desert to flying systems where we fly people out of sets, to basic fights, to some complicated gun battles.
It is huge. I mean, it's probably the biggest thing that we've ever done.
Roll cameras, please. Let's roll. Fire and all.
It was the first great gift that John Logan gave me when Data and Worf and Picard go down to the alien world. Picard goes along, and we are given a futuristic, all-terrain vehicle to drive. And it's charming to make Picard the driver because we don't think of him in terms of somebody who enjoys driving, fast vehicles. And so the character has a great deal of fun out of this experience, and fun at the expense of Worf and Data too, who are both of them terrified.
I will always be puzzled by the human predilection for piloting vehicles at unsafe velocities.
I've always enjoyed driving. I really, really enjoy driving, and it's something I think about, and I try to remain focused on all the time.
Patrick loves driving, he loves all that stuff, but the big thing with Patrick, he's like a lorry driver. He loves the trucks. I mean, he said if he could have anything, Bentley or Mercedes, forget it, he'd want to have like a semi. The vehicles are high-tech vehicles, but they're big dune buggies. That's what he loves. It was very close to what he wants to do, and and he gets out there and he's driving around, and you had to have a lot of scenes with him driving, and I'm just looking at him, in the back of his head going, I hope he doesn't get excited or something.
To be given the opportunity as a fairly kind of careful street driver to be put behind the wheel of a very powerful off-road vehicle based on the design built and raced by Ivan Stewart, whose vehicle this is. Ivan Iron Man Stewart, I think they called him. I tried to tell people that, we were related and that therefore we both had these same tough guy tendencies. Well, they let me drive it for most of the film. I think there's one shot where they said that it was not appropriate to have me at the wheel. But the rest of it, I was at the wheel. They took me out for an afternoon of practice before we began production out at a quarry in the valley. And it was then that I realized what a great time could be had with this monster of a vehicle.
We took Patrick Stewart out to a location, got him acclimated to the vehicle, showed him where all the switches were. Patrick's wonderful. He's had some experience driving. He's been to a race school, so everything we were showing him he'd been through before. So we took him beyond that and got him developed into a situation that was instrumental in running this truck through this kind of terrain out here. And he was just wonderful to work with.
He was a monster in this car. We'd be bouncing along in the desert, and he would say, you know what, I don't feel like we're getting enough movement in this. He said, why don't we just take off right across the desert instead of going on the roads that were cut in? Just go across the desert. And they would say, yeah, go for it. And, it was fun. He had a blast doing it. So did I. But I didn't have to drive, fortunately.
I actually suggested that, if they really wanted to make me happy, they should just deliver it to my home at the end of the movie. But so far, it has not shown up.
That should 48 as well. F camera 48. A camera 48, Jeff, and we'll leave B.
We have a pipe ramp set up here. We're going to run our vehicles. Got 8 vehicles coming this direction. This vehicle here will hit the pipe ramp. It'll fly through the air, bounce and roll a couple times, and end up right over there on that tree. This one's going to go driver's side up, so as it hits it, the driver's side goes up and it starts to roll. So when he's inside, just as he's getting up to the top of the ramp, he cranks the wheel to bring it underneath so it'll start to roll.
Well, you're going out at an angle instead of dropping perfect. Okay, here we go. Ready, and action!
The fight scene, the two of us were throwing each other around and admitting to each other that we're really way too old to be action heroes.
And action! Good. Cut it. Excellent. Excellent. That was good. That was the print.
It was dramatically staged, it was very well planned, and I commend the stunt coordinator and the cinematographer, Doug Coleman and Jeffrey Kimball, for shooting a really big movie action scene and making me look heroic.
It's a firefight to begin with, so there's a lot of guys going down. We have the Remans that are getting pelted with lasers, and they're getting abused. Some of the Starfleet are hit as well. They work themselves through corridors and into a thing called the Jeffries tube. It gets very interesting in the Jeffries tube.
Right, that's it, and then you slide down.
It took 3 days of first unit to shoot the stuff leading up to and during this major mano-a-mano battle between Riker and the Viceroy. While the battle is taking place, two ships are having this other huge battle where they're ramming each other, and so people are being thrown about like puppets. We are both jockeying for dominance. Who's going to ultimately triumph? It's a very long and involved sequence.
The Enterprise is helpless. It has been so badly damaged by Shinzan's ship. It's no longer able to defend itself, and certainly not able to inflict any conventional damage to Shinzan's ship. The mistake Shinzan makes is by gloating about the dominance that he has now over the Enterprise, and so the two ships are hanging there in space, nose to nose.
He wants to look me in the eye.
Picard comes up with a plan in which he can, and it's a desperate plan, of course, but he has no other choice, in which he can still possibly survive and inflict some terrible damage to Shinzan's ship. And that is simply to put all remaining available power into the ship's engines and drive straight into the nose of Shinzan's ship. The temporary opticals and special effects and model shots and so forth for this scene, they are simply spectacular. I think it's going to be as impressive as anything when the two ships rammed straight into one another, nose to nose. This time, Picard has to take responsibility for that, because in Generations, of course, the Enterprise nosedived into a planet, and of course that was because we'd let Troy drive, and that's one thing that we were determined would never ever be allowed to happen. She got one shot at driving the ship, and she totaled it.
On my mark, Deanna. All hands, brace for impact.